Hello everyone, this is the Underdog, aka the German Viking, and today we're gonna cover a story from the Daily Dot. I wanna cover both sides of the aisle, so to speak. I've covered the Mary Sue and I've covered the Daily Wire, so I wanna be balanced. I'm gonna use the archive link for this article because I think Daily Dot is garbage. So let's dive into this article by Angeline Rodriguez. The biggest casualties at the Battle of Winterfell were people of color. Okay. The Dothraki and Unsullied deserve better, is basically the sub headline. The latest episode of Game of Thrones brought fans the much teased Battle of Winterfell, a grueling tour de force. What happens when you pit the living's finest warriors against the army of the dead? Well, Arya, or I should say, this is spoiler alert if you haven't watched it. It's gonna contain spoilers, even though I haven't watched the show since season 5. This contains spoilers. So, while Arya ultimately saves the day with a buzzer-beating backstab, it's not before thousands die maintaining the perimeter outside the gates, and none are sacrificed more heavily than the notably more melanin-rich from Esau's shock troops. In a harrowing opening salvo, the entire contingent of the Dothraki, Arak's freshly lit by sun's fire magic, charged straight into the army of the dead. Their blazing swords shining across the battlefield are almost heartening until we see each pinprick of light snuffed out within moments. Here's one tweet. The way the lights of the Dothraki slowly disappeared at the beginning, what a terrifying way to start a battle. That's one tweet. It's an abrupt and shockingly thorough end for Daenerys day ones. The people she spent years earning the loyalty of and whose arrival in Westeros has been hyped since the beginning. It took 6 seasons to marshal the resources to get the Dothraki host across the narrow sea, just to have them wiped out in about as many minutes. Yeah, well, I mean, not everyone has a happy ending. You have the Red Wedding. I mean, everyone was cheering for that, and they didn't get a happy ending. That's not so sexist or racist that Robb Stark got killed. Isn't that somehow sexist or racist? So that doesn't make any sense if you think about this, because people just die in the show, and now they've gone beyond the books and they're just making stuff up, and not always it's not always gonna make sense. These are the same writers that sewed Deadpool's mouth shut. These are the same type of people, so don't expect high levels of writing. They had the books to rely on for the majority of the season they've written so far, and now they've had to rely on their own writing, and it doesn't seem like it's been good or consistent, at least from what you're showing here. But that doesn't mean it's racist. This just means that the writers of the show are racist. It just means that they're bad writers. What's the quote? Don't contribute malice what you can to stupidity. Is basically what I think. I'm paraphrasing here. So here are the tweets. I've always felt like the Dothraki were portrayed like the white gaze version of indigenous people in Westeros, and damn did they prove me right tonight. Just got rid of them all in the first 10 minutes. Totally disposable. Yeah, but you don't really care if they're men. That's not the issue here. No. You have to say they're indigenous of people of Westeros. So that's somehow racist. You're attributing racism where there is none to be found. You're interpreting on behalf of the writers, where they don't make this explicit. Also, like the Dothraki, I really just got snubbed out with no fanfare. Are we gonna talk about that? No support, nothing. Charge, and we'll hear flaming spitballs from afar. Well, I mean, that's just the Game of Thrones writing. The Dothraki are the council army of the Game of Thrones universe. I don't get the reference. The carnage doesn't stop here. The next line of defense is the shouldn't it be are the Unsullied? because they're plural. Anyways, I have to do the job for the uh, for the journalists here. The former slave soldiers, upon whose legendary phalanxes we see a literal wave of weights crashed to a devastating effect. They hold the line, as they are famed to do, but with precious few survivors, most notably Grey Worm. We later see many of the remaining Unsullied sacrifice themselves to protect the rest of the forces retreat behind the fire moat. Which really probably should have been the first line of defense. Well, again, attack the writing. Don't just assume this is racism. Jesus Christ, Daily Dot. The viewer reception was rightfully aggrieved, as many wondered why the foreign-born forces were the brunt of the onslaught in a war that has primarily been Westeros to fight for a group of people actively distrustful of their rival. Again, this is inconsistent writing. This isn't racism. Here are the tweets. Can we just take a moment and to talk about how Danny's Brown coalition was placed at the front of the formation? The expectation for them to not only die first, but then hold the line for the northern white people to retreat was fucked up, given the fact that they are outsiders. Well, I mean, maybe it's because they were the best warriors. Maybe you should stop assuming racism and maybe think about things, or just bad running. Please know I noticed that all the brown people and black soldiers died first. Dothraki and Unsullied lesson: don't march north to fight white wars under any circumstance. Landing of the Dothraki and Unsullied last night reminded me of why I hope Game of Thrones producers never get to around to actually making Confederate. I mean, they're making Star Wars, so. Did they really just kill off almost all the people of color-ish people in the front lines of this battle, then turned them into zombies, then killed them all over again? I mean, that's just funny when you say it like that. You could just see Grey Worm asking himself, do I really want to die for these racists like 5 times this episode? Okay. Fans also questioned the tactical logic of even approaching a head-to-head with a living dead this way, with legendary fighters like Dothraki and Solid effectively being thrown into a meat grinder because of Northerners' ill-advised battle plan. I mean, again, this is bad writing. This isn't. I mean, if you wanted to watch a review of this, I would highly recommend Mulder. I haven't watched this review in particular, but his previous work has been stellar. So if you want to watch his review on this, because I think you should check it out. Sending out the cavalry to die before you even employ ranged defenses, just small possible suggestion: if God forbid we are ever facing an army of the dead, again sending in the dragons, first burn them all with fire and then clean up the stragglers with the Dothraki screamers, that's all. And an episode featured many other iconic character arcs, the quick eliminations of the largest group of brown people in the show that has struggled with non-white representation. Oh my god. Oh my god. Are you gonna complain about the lack of brown people in Lord of the Rings or in other fantasy? I mean, oh my god. Why? Why do you have to insert politics into entertainment? Why? It's never enough for these people. It's never enough. They're never going to be satisfied with anything. In a show that is struggling with non-white representation, feels like a massive missed opportunity. The Dothraki and Unsullied are the beating bloody heart of Daenerys' journey to the throne, and presented a complex issue in her conqueror's narrative as she prepared to retake her homeland with a backup gathered largely overseas. Giving them such an unceremonious exit suggests these people and their seasons-long storylines are utterly disposable to the larger, wider story. Yeah, but they're also male, so doesn't make it sexist as well? No, it doesn't, because they're men. Huh. Your hypocritical or your hypocrisy is showing. It seems we'll never get the chance to see how these hard-won allies could have charged the face of Westeros, but at least there's still hope for Grey Worm and Miss Sunday making it to the beach. And so these are the people we're talking about here, people who are never goddamn satisfied with anything. They have to crap on anything. Attack the writing. Don't just attribute malice when there can just be bad writing in this show. I mean, I'm doing the same to The Last Jedi, and it's just... bad writing, but they've also tried to use identity politics into the movie. It's just bad writing, and it's not always racism. And I mean, is X-Men Wolverine Origins a racist story, or is it just bad writing? It's bad writing. So sometimes it's just bad writing. Sometimes you can have some issues maybe having politics involved, but this is not it. There's no proof of racism being part of the story. The biggest issue I have is with people like this who want to insert politics, and like I said with the Last Jedi, these are the people who want to use identity politics and push it down our throats. Anyways, I don't want to rant anymore. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.